Alright, I'm back in the car, back raining, but I think this is just a little summer storm, man. Uh, about midday or so, but down here I checked quite a few houses, and they all look kind of ransacked, and I haven't really found anything. It's starting to get a little desperate out here. Uh, I mean, food you can probably find around here. There's always wild hogs out here if you know how to deal with them and deal with the worms. Gross. Uh, but the water thing is gonna start being a thing. I'm terrified of the rain because of yeah, radiation and ash and grossness and whatever. But I gotta figure out a way to filter some stuff or do something because this is getting ridiculous. Okay, so yeah, we got in the camp and once we started looking at everybody, then the smell kind of caught up with you, right? Like there was the form of adrenaline terrified these people, whatever. They get close and man, like they got like the sallow cheeks, sunken eyes, dude. Like they look like warmed over death. And then the smell hits you, and holy crap! So, and then, they immediately started asking if we had anything to drink on us, and I was like, dude, I got this little half-ass canteen and an energy drink, and like, here, take my canteen, and basically I just let them keep it, but I didn't drink out of it anymore. But they weren't like demanding, but they were relatively insistent, and they had their little water catcher thing set up, but they were scrambling and tilting it and trying to get it done, and there just wasn't a way to get liquids to them. And these guys, they were all drinking the same water. Some of them had taken to drinking out of the ditch and stuff just because, they were scrambling back and forth, but they didn't have a lot of weapons and they couldn't find anything. And, they said they all just kind of, it was people from the area just kind of coagulated there and they started getting sick. And man, like I said, they had like a busted porta can. They tried to finagle it with a hole to run out the back, and all that did was lead to a little ditch to the side, which they didn't realize the ditches all led to the same water ditch over here. And man, they was all getting sick of this stuff, dude. They were constantly running to the bathroom, and most of them had just given up on trying to go, and were just going on themselves and being sick and constantly bent over cramped and screaming. And there was younger people and they're all upset, and the parents are trying, but they're just as sick. Like, they went straight Oregon Trail in this group, man. And Doc said we could find some stuff, but we head to the pharmacy, and they said that there was, a camp of guys that were close to there, so we had to be careful. And we made a promise to try to go see if we could find anything, get some water for these guys or something. So we loaded up and went in town. There was a little spot that used to be it was a restaurant. I think it was a bar, whatever. It used to be right next to the police department. The police department shut down, moved, and got a new one. So we went over there, and it was all but rusted out and smashed, and just nothing there, and all the booze had been taken or thrown on the floor or whatever. There was a partial case of water in the back, like underneath some stuff the doc had found. There was only like 6 bottles, and kind of stuck that in her bag, and we went to go try to go to this not a gas station across the street from there. Now we had to cross back over Highway 6. We're back down here where those guys had came up the other way. So if they were still fighting up the road, we were well in their backfield, right? So it's just a big open flat area, like it's Highway 6 and this big gas station with like no trees. So we take Mule over there back behind where the old police station was. There was this little half-ass park that was there, and the grass was a little tall, but it wasn't like overgrown or anything, but it was a big shady tree. So I was able to tie out Mule over there, let him just graze in that grass. He was happy. So, I mean, Mule's great. It's good for carrying stuff, but that's a big-ass target that makes a lot of noise when it runs across the street. So we get down there, look either way, don't really see anything. We hustle, across the street there. And she went over and went to that little med thing, started grabbing what she could. And she's, I heard her, get excited, like, salt tablets, right? I go over and I'm trying to grab drinks and stuff, and I'm looking for bags or kits or something. And, we had found a couple of backpack-looking things in there, but they're the small, like, super cheap plastic ones. It was like back-to-school thing, right? Like, it was close to August when this hit, so, yeah, everybody's trying to do it. There's a little, like, a preschool daycare thing back behind this, So I guess this guy was trying to make money. It was way away from the actual schools, So we grabbed what we could, waterways, but there wasn't a lot. Just grabbed whatever drinks, but all the stuff we were grabbing that was still left were like teas that were probably stagnant. And, and that's a natural diuretic, which is a horrible idea. and we loaded up what we could, and she got a whole bag full of whatever medicine stuff. And we loaded back up trying to be heroes, man. So we got back, strapped all that stuff to mule, and we just walked a mule. It was a pack mule, man. I felt so bad for him. I offered to put, like, Doc, you get on the mule, go ahead of me, but she didn't want to leave me down there on foot, which I very much appreciated. It's afternoonish. I don't want to be caught out by dark by myself, and I didn't want her to run down there. A, it's a woman, B, it's on a mode of transportation that you don't need, like, gasoline for, covered in medicine and water. Like, that's a target. That's a loot goblin. So, we got back, and man, there were people moaning and groaning, and they was happy to see us. And she went to try to handle that stuff, and these guys just started reaching and just grabbing handfuls of just all kind of stuff, right? And then one of the people she was looking at had died before by the time we got back, and the dad was like all fucking mad. This is like, dude, we went as fast as we could. We brought you the gear, and he's like yelling at us, like we tried, like, but the guy's emotional, right? Like, he just lost his family member, had to watch them. That's how I get it. But getting mad at us, I was like, we were trying to save everybody, but he went to yelling and screaming, and the other families, like, tried to drag him over, and everybody's just weak. It's like watching a bunch of sick people try to drag a sick person off, man, and comedy and errors. And then we caught a little group of them, snatched that little thing of 6 waters, and they just went to chugging it, and they were the ones that didn't look that sick. And there was people later around, and so we had to start yelling at these people. And they tried to give us guff, and I was like, nah, dude, you're probably sick too, and I get it, but we need to make sure these sickest people don't die of dehydration, man. And then, like, halfway through yelling match, this guy grabs his gun, it kind of heels over and runs to the bathroom, and it's like, yeah, I can see why I killed everybody on the Oregon Trail. Like, this is some bad juju. But, they ended up just taking the whole bag of medicine. They were real gruff about it. There was a couple of them that were like, thank you, whatever. But docs frantically tried to tell them, like, no, don't take that one, take this. Take one now and we'll worry about some later. Take some of these salt tablets. Be sure to get some of this to drink. Don't be drinking out of the pocket ditch, trying to yell at these people. But the more they get into it, some of them were starting to feel a little better, I guess, because they had, like, fresh water and tea that was just something to drink that wasn't making them sick. Started getting mad and angry, so the first guy was blaming us in the corner, and we didn't feel safe staying there. These people that upset. It's like, we tried. We helped as much as we can. Let's go ahead and get on the road. So, right about dark, we loaded up on mule, and we headed back the way we came, back towards the gas station. But we got close. We got right about to where that park was, and we could hear somebody. I think it was a group of them. Couldn't really understand what they were saying. I didn't know if it was just the distance or if they were speaking a different language, but there were people in a gas station. We didn't want to mess with that BS. So, right about cover of dark, we, hustled across Highway 6 up 646 south, got across the train tracks. We did think about crossing the tracks, but it was going to be right next to that gas station. And, that gravel makes a lot of noise, and poor mule ain't got shoes. And he'll be just walking on that gravel, that grap, man. And I didn't want to bruise his feet. Man, so we can go back a couple of roads. I know how to get back over here. So this was right back over where the church and my mom's old house, where my buddy lived. We were a couple blocks away from where that white supremacist group was doing their camp thing, whatever else. We can cut across a few fields between here and there. I know how to get out there, so we ducked back in, some of the side streets, but this time on the left-hand side, away from the church and away from Mom's house. Over here, like we did hear a couple of people talking, especially around dark. You could smell wood smoke, couldn't see a lot of fires. People were being smart about it. Still there's cars we kind of checked. We scored a couple of things of drinking water for ourselves out of like an abandoned SUV. Like the doors were open, you could smell mold and mildew in it and stuff. It was like horrific. So we didn't stay in there. Well, we went down around the road, and then we came across this house. Man, this place was haunted. It was next door to a buddy of mine's trailer growing up in high school. And there was a guy, we kept finding him out there laid in the yard. Apparently he died. Another friend lived there, said it was haunted. We stayed in the yard. Yeah, still in the car. It's still raining. It's been a couple hours. I tried. I couldn't sleep, man. But, yeah, we got to that creepy house. The spot where my buddy's trailer was is empty. It's all overgrown and stuff. So I guess him and his dad moved on a long time ago. Shit, that's been almost 30 years. But this house here, this is creepy. I knew it. I recognized that the grass is tall in the front. But I am not going in that son of a bitch in the dark. Like I said, there's one guy I came over here with my buddy. We heard somebody say, "Hey, help!" And it was laid in the yard. And we went over and got him set up. He's like, "Yeah, I fell down. I couldn't get up. I didn't know how long I've been here. Maybe a couple hours. Holy shit." And then one of the guys I was sword fight with, 20 years later, was like, "Oh, that's the house I live in. It's haunted as shit." I was like, "That's probably the guy that's haunting it." And he told me this stuff. So as days goes, there's a whole lot of them, man. The last year, man. This car I'm in probably got one in it. But we stayed in that yard, just kind of propped up against the fence, let the mule, just let him chew on stuff. And, you can hear off in the distance every now and then a gunshot or whatever, because with no major cars and the trains aren't running and just every house got AC screaming or something, without all that noise, you can hear for a long time in here, even amongst the trees. And you'd hear a gunshot or a couple of screaming stuff, but it wasn't anything close. I know this road kind of worked its way back and hit a pasture that would cut us across to Avenue M. Let us go down to Hitchcock and check the mom. So we kind of slept out there and woke up when the sun started to get up. And as somebody who has never been a morning person ever, that seemed like a new thing for me. I was not a fan. My argument was always like, "Why we got to get up so early? Because we got electric lights now. We don't have to do that shit." So I guess now just ain't got electric lights, guy. got the thing. So I got up that next morning and went and poked Mule, who was laid down and asleep, which is, I was happy for him finally getting some rest. But we was gonna have to find him some proper water. So we loaded up. And I put Doc back on the mule, and Doc's been kind of quiet since we got over there with that group of people that was all sick, and I could tell he was worrying her, whatever. And I said, "Well, once we get a chance, we will start grabbing all the medicine we can when we start just rotating around and being a doc. But right now, we don't need to get snatched up and kept by these invading people, and be kept doing medical stuff for them, man. Like, I don't agree with the government either, but I don't, too much of a Texan, get invaded, you gotta have a problem." So we went down this road, and what surprised me was down there on the left. It was when I was a kid, it was a family that was friendly because our dog had got loose and bred their dog, and we became friends with him. And it was a guy and his wife, and they had like 5 kids. Come to find out, he was an abusive asshole, pedophile guy. So we quit dealing with him. But apparently, he had sold this big block of land because he was building this house that they were living in, and sold it to some people from the church. Got down there, there's people milling around. We came walking up. One of them went running inside. The other one just stood out there staring at us. I'm walking. She's a thing, and oh, excuse me. Yeah, it's middle of the night. Rain usually puts me to sleep. As soon as I close my eyes, I'm waking right the hell up. And people start pouring out of this building. 1 or 2 of them had a weapon, but none of them trained on us. We're walking that away. And this main guy, he turned out he was a preacher. "Why don't y'all come inside and eat with us?" And blah, blah, blah. So we just trying to cut through here. He said, "Yeah, but it's early. You look hungry." I said, "Well, the main thing I'm looking for is water for my animal here." And they're like, "Oh, we got a tank out back." And they sure as hell had, it was like half a 30-gallon plastic drum that they cut in half, and it was water. Now, if it was safe or not, I don't know. All the water around here is toxic as hell, and I felt bad. But Mule was happy to see it, So he went to chugging on that or whatever, and he had one of his kids like, "Oh, this kid here, he'll tie it up for you over here and let him graze a bit out here. We got a halter and a long rope." And I said, "Okay." And they had introduced himself, and his name was David. He called himself David. And came in, and Doc immediately went to checking on everybody. How y'all feeling? How y'all been being healthy, whatever? And they were saying that they had a windmills where they got their water from. So I felt a little better about Mule getting his, and then they had grown a lot of their own stuff, but a lot of that is starting to wither. But they had canned for the last couple of years, and they'd planned, for Armageddon and the second coming and the whole thing. And they sat us down, and man, they had scrambled eggs and bacon. Jesus, when's the last time we'd seen bacon? It had been weeks since we had a proper meal. And we started looking around. Is this guy? And there was a couple of teenage boys, but there was mostly women in here. From, I think the youngest one was, 4 or 5. I've always been bad at guessing ages. And then all the way up to, had to be grown-ass women in their 20s and 30s. This guy was the only guy that seemed grown up. And as I expected, as soon as we sat down, he started proselytizing, telling us about God and Jesus' second coming and how the heathens are going to burn and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't have the heart to tell him, especially since I was eating his food, that I wasn't into that. And I've always been like, do what makes you happy as long as you learn somebody else. If that helps you, if that gives you any kind of, solace in having a religion, then have at it. I'm all for it. As soon as you tell me I'm wrong for not having one or having a different one, then we have an issue, So, but he's telling us, about this? And I said, yeah, I served as a chaplain with my search and rescue group. Oh my goodness, a believer, blah, blah, blah. And then once Doc was satisfied that the kids were relatively healthy, she came and sat next to me, and she went to just eating, and she ate like a man. Fork me damned, it was there just to scoop everything in her hand and just shove it in. She was hungry. When we've been out there, she's been eating just a little bit, not telling me she's trying to save food. I said, why are you so hungry? She was, I haven't eaten this. I was like, we had this. I almost got in a fight in front of these people we didn't know, and I was like, I've only known her like 2-3 days, And I said, well, all right. So I thought to myself, I have to keep an eye on her and make sure she's getting her share of the food and actually eating it. Doc's amazing, but if she passes out, she ain't good to nobody, including herself. So, guys here, and then we had a big cross on the wall. Like, there was a church, we weren't in it. We were in, like, one of the houses. There were several buildings on this little compound they had. But we were in, like, a little welcome center, I guess is the best way to put it. And they had a long table in there, and they eat with us, and they talking to us, and asked to pray for us, and prayed, and I stopped eating for a minute. Doc didn't. But, then after the praying, the proselyte was going over, he started asking questions about us, but mostly about Doc. And he seemed really interested in Doc, like asking her about everything, where she's from, what she does, that she's a doctor and how great that is, and how she's working for God and helping folks out and whatever. And she's just nodding in between handfuls of bacon and eggs, And we ate her field. It was biscuits. Man, I'm pretty sure they came out of one of the little pop tubes, but it was amazing. And they was warm, and they had butter and shit. Holy crap. But we ate, and some questions, and probably told them where we was going. Probably shouldn't have, but sat around with them like, oh, sit down and talk. And we sat there, and this is a southern thing. The food is like, after you do a business deal, you eat food. After you visit with some family, you go eat food. Like, it was a punctuation on everything we did in the South was get food, and everybody wonders why everybody down here's fat. But, so it felt rude just to eat food and run, so we sat there and talked, and we weren't talking religion anymore. We was talking about what was going on, what we had heard. And he just looped everything back to, second coming and Armageddon and Revelation and this, that, and the other. And it's part of, there was 7 kingdoms. I said, I'm pretty sure there's like 50-something countries trying to kick the hell out of us, But, we just shake her head a little bit, nod her head, and like, okay. And keep going, filling me about what we're doing, what we've seen. They wanted to pray for us again, and pray for everybody we'd seen and who got hurt and whatever. And we did that, and then, it was getting pretty late in the day. Like, we got up early. We spent a couple hours over here. Late in the day when you get up at 5, So, and then you get up and leave. And sure as hell, we gotta go. He's like, no, you need to stay with us. And we're like, no, I gotta get over and check my mother. He's like, I understand, but Doc and your animal need to stay with us. And I was like, no. And then something hit me from behind, man, just as hard as it could. Blip. and it's daybreak, and I can't sit in that car the entire time, man. It is still raining, so I got y'all wrapped up under this. I call it a poncho. It's just a trash bag with like cut holes in it. Like I remember used to see people at the rodeos and stuff. You know, they'd be trying to dodge the rain, so they'd steal a trash bag out of the trash cans because they always put like the extra ones underneath it, right? And they would poke holes in it and put it over themselves and still go to the concert or the rodeo or whatever the hell they're doing. They just sit there in the trash bag. And you know they're still getting soaked because their arms are sticking out. They didn't see that, but now they're sweating because these plastic bags are on them. I know it keeps my bag dry. I'm trying to keep most of me dry, but as long as I kind of keep it hooded up over my head, it'll keep most of the rain out of it unless it's like a really hard rain. So, but yeah, my canteen is empty. I tried to set it out on the roof, and, you know, like the guy in Jurassic Park did, where it filled it in like 2 minutes. Like I said, I think we still get sick occasionally, like because we drink the rainwater around here. So that's the thing. But I gotta go find something. This is getting bad. So, yeah, man. So I got knocked the hell out by these religious nut jobs and this guy in his cage, right? And I woke up and it's daytime, man. It is hot outside. We were laying there and I could just feel the sun beating down on me. Like I've always been outside, but I am not an outside person, right? So I was just like, I gotta do something. I'm laying there in the heat. I kind of open my eyes, and everything's still kind of blurry. My right eye's not agreeing with me. It keeps looking all over the place, where my left one's just straight ahead, you know. And I was like, oh, but I didn't say anything. And I was at the edge of a pit, laying on my side, had my hands tied up behind me, and I was laying like on the edge of this hole. Say it's a pit, it was just a hole. When does a hole become a pit? Well, there was pieces of people in it, and the fire burning down at one end, and it smelled both delicious and repulsive at the same time because it smelled like barbecue pork, but I knew it was people, so that's absolutely horrendous. I'm laying there, I'm like, what in the hell, man? Did they think I'm dead or something? And you know, my head's still ringing. The tinnitus is just like, it's like a like a Saving Private Ryan moment. I'm just, why is everything so slow? And it slowly comes into focus, and like there was bits and pieces of people, but most of them were burnt down to bone, and just the bones was there, and at the ends of them was the hands and feet, and just, my God. You know, I wanted to freak out, but I was just like, holy shit, whatever. And I got hit from behind. I was, oh shit. So it just keeled me over onto my face, chest down, hands up. And I could start hearing it was the two young kids talking. You know, and it's not like they gave me any plot points or anything. They're just like, we got to get rid of this guy, fuck this guy, right? Like, but that's the only good, you know, pair of cuffs we have. And I could feel him fumble with it, and it hurt. And then you know, I know what handcuffs feel like, you know. And I was like, oh shit, they had me a handcuff. I guess they expected me to wake up between there and now. And they're saying I need to get these cuffs back, so I just kind of lay there. And I'm trying to field without moving, you know, laying on my stomach. But when they undid my arms, I made sure to pull them down to my sides. My right arm flopped, you know, quote unquote, I made it flop down to my hip, and I could feel my hip bag was still there, my medical bag. Like, these guys must not have wanted for nothing, man, because if they didn't loot me for my freaking medical bag, I was like, oh, well, balls to me, right? So, alright, well then how do I get it? It's facing them, you know. I was on my right side, and then they kicked me over to my stomach closer to this hole, you know, and my bag was on my right side. Like, I can't get into it without them noticing. So I'm trying to listen to it, like, hurry up, you know, Dad's with that woman, and I don't trust her in this, that, and the other. And, so they put their feet underneath me and tried to kick me into the hole, so I just kind of went with it. And I hit hard, but all my life, when I got hurt or I got hit by something, it was always, you make a noise. You don't reflex, you don't whatever, especially because you work around animals. If you you know, hurt your arm and snatch your arm back, then that animal's going to freak out and you might get hurt worse. But you make a noise to let somebody know you got hit, got hurt, something's going on. And then later in life, I did it because it was funny. You know, it was the slightest thing like, ooh, you know, ow, kind of thing. But this time I had to fight to keep from doing it, right? I'm supposed to be unconscious. Closed my eyes, got dirt in my eyes all the way down like a dumbass. Rolled about 6.5 feet in this little deep cut trench, like I said. My feet are over by where the fire is. Now here, feel something wet hit my legs and my back. And I'm just expecting, I'm like, oh shit. But now I'm kind of laid off on my left hand side. My right is over against the dirt, so I'm doing my damnedest to wiggle my hand a little closer and try to get the zipper with just not showing it. Like, nope, that's just me reflexively moving it. And, you know, the younger kid's like, no, and just took off. So, you know, and the big one's like, man, we got to get him into the fire. And he's like, dude, he's got kerosene, he's fine. Oh, shit. I feel my legs were tied together. Like they had walked me out here and then tied my feet together and untied my hands. I don't understand it. They only came to pick me up on my shoulders and tried to push me a little closer, and I can feel my boots getting fucking hot. I'm being search and rescue boots. And he was pushing me, and I was like, well, how far is the other guy's like trying to fight this kid? Kid's gonna have more energy than I have. Suffered major head trauma. You know, what the hell? So I was like, I don't want to fight no kid, I don't want to hurt no kid, but they trying to kill the hell out of me, you know. And right when I went to twist my shoulder, I heard a gunshot in the distance. And then this kid yelled, the kid's name, Jebediah, Jeb something, some religious J name, dropped me like a sack of fucking potatoes. Oof. I reached down, trying to pull my feet up because I saw him run up the side of the pit. I pulled my feet out of the friggin' fire. Kerosene didn't catch. I was just close and everything was smoldering. At the same time, trying to reach in my bag, get my pistol, and I'm trying to be all tactical, laying there with my feet just burning. Like they feel like they are still on fire. That leather holds that heat, man. Like if you've ever had a glove or a boot get too close to a fire, by the time you feel it, that leather is hot enough to where it's gonna burn you too. So you can't get away from it. So I'm like, ow, shit. And then I kind of breached the top of that little pit with a pistol, crawling on dirt, and another shot. Pow! Oh shit, well, you know, if Doc's fighting, I better get back up there. And I popped up out of that thing, and I'm covered in dirt and kerosene or whatever. And I see Doc on the back porch. She got blood down one whole side of her, and she's got a rifle in her hand, and she just dropped them 2 kids. So I hear a ruckus. She turns around, slams the door, runs towards me, like, we have to go. I was like, what the fuck happened? She's, I'll tell you later. I said, okay. So, ran over, got a hold of mule, capped the halter and the lead rope, but I put the bridle on the saddle horn, kind of slung it back up there as best I could, and one time we hear people yelling and screaming, and look up, and there's a sea of these women. I say women because there's teenagers down to kids come out of that door, and then apparently they saw their first brother out there. And they went to squalling and screaming and crying, cussing, and one of the little ones spots us as we're climbing on Mule, and both of us get up there. And we take the hell off. The Mule, even in a halter, knows what's going on, so we take off. Well, the rest of that road wasn't but a couple hundred yards. So we hit the end of the road, we hit that, where that fence line used to be. There's no fence, it's just a pasture. I guess they're trying to knock it all down, build fucking houses out there or something. We hit that thing and kept going. And it was mid-afternoon or so, my head is just throbbing. Just boom, 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 boom. And I can feel Doc holding on to the back of me. She got the rifle out to one side, bouncing against both our legs. But she's sticking to the back of me. And just the god-awful smell of wet mule, grave dirt, kerosene, and fresh blood all tangled together. We had to smell horrible. At that point, I said something. I was like, we smell bad. I wish it would rain. And she said, yeah, me too. Little did we know by the next morning that next biggest, the worst hurricane we could have ever come across hit us out there. And we was in the middle of nothing. We was over by one of these little bayou, big drainage ditch trying to get out. Goodness.